get up, let me begin. This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down. Get up, let me begin. This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down.
Shout out Young Swish.
Guys, for tuning in to another episode of the Sit Down Morning Show with Malik. Wright. You know what? I'm happy, man. We're back. Took a couple days off, almost an entire week. Only a couple days though. Just had to get my mind right with some family stuff, the whole 9 yards. But I'm excited to be back. Pumped up to be back with you guys. As always, I'm here live with my guy Daniel. If you guys do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys never miss when we go live or when we upload content from the TWS studios. Yeah, I don't know if there's something in the water. People were drinking some stuff when we were gone, but you know, when we last recorded, right, when everything was falling down, it seems like in Cincinnati the tune has changed a little bit to Zach Taylor apologists. If turned into Joe Burrow is going to save the franchise. And I want to talk about that a little bit more, right? Obviously, Joe Burrow is planning to return here in the next 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We can probably speculate what game he's probably going to try to come back for. By the looks of it, might be Thanksgiving against the Ravens, because he's apparently attacked, you know, this injury ferociously and wants to be back there for his teammates. So I want to get your thoughts on that, man. Do you think that I don't even know if I have a question necessarily for that, but more so, do you have thoughts on Joe Burrow returning? Do you think that's going to uplift this team? Do you think that's going to provide a sense of rejuvenation, I would say, for the defense? I want to get your thoughts on that, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I'm excited to be back, and I think it's fun talking sports, and there's a lot to talk about. So for me, if you want my honest reaction, Malik, the first thing I thought, I honestly did not care. I didn't. And the reason why I didn't care, and this is just my thought process, is I did not feel like this is going to save your season. I did not feel like this is the saving grace. I did not feel like this was your golden ticket. You were sitting at 3-6. You were coming off 2 terrible losses to the New York Jets and the Bears, both games which were in your hands. And we're talking about a guy that can return in 3 weeks, that can save your season. That was my gut reaction. But Malik, it ain't over till the old lady sings, and it ain't over yet. She ain't singing yet. So I think that this whole Joe Burrow returning is a positive. And the biggest positive I will take away isn't for the Cincinnati Bengals, Malik. I think the biggest positive is for him. This is for the future. Joe Burrow is back training, back at practice. And this at least dispels the notion of, hey, this guy's Andrew Luck. This guy's career is over. And I think that is the biggest positive I have is, hey, this guy's still your franchise quarterback. This guy's still attacking recovery like it was his ACL, like it was his wrist. So that was the biggest positive I have. But to be honest, in this current state, Malik, I just don't care, because you have a game in front of you that is going to make or break your coaching staff, is going to make or break this season. Malik, I don't see a world where even if Joe Burrow comes back, that you can come back from a loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't see it. And that is the harsh reality and that is my tune changing from the beginning of the season, because this is the situation you put yourself in, because even Joe Burrow put it best. And I don't necessarily know if this is fully true, but his words were, our path to the playoffs is winning the division. And I think that's fair to say. The Pittsburgh Steelers don't have a great record. The Baltimore Ravens don't have a great record. That is your path to making the playoffs, is winning the division. And you have a head start. You are up on the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the reason why my tune is so non-caring about the Joe Burrow injury is because this game really is make or break. Because in order to win your division, in order to make a push in your division, I think you have to have that tiebreaker over the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if you win against the Pittsburgh Steelers, then maybe I will start to feel that excitement and that hope. But the harsh reality is you look at the schedule, there are 7 games left on the schedule, I believe. At this point, you have to go 6-1. Do I necessarily, or 7-1? Do I believe that if the Bengals lose to the Steelers this week, that they will run the table? No, I do not. So that is pretty much my thoughts on this Joe Burrow thing. Is I'm excited and I'm hopeful, and I think that Bengals fans that expected him to be out for the entire season, even myself at times, this should be a positive and a light to you. But for me, this is not the saving grace because I don't have the faith in the Bengals to say confidently that they're going to go into Pittsburgh and win. And that's where my reservations are, because I don't want to get my hopes up about Joe Burrow saving this coaching staff and saving this team if you can't pull out a win against Pittsburgh, because I have no faith that Joe Burrow and this Bengals team can run the table if you lose to Pittsburgh. So I hate to sound a little down right now, Malik, but that's just my thoughts on the Joe Burrow return. I think it's a positive. I think it's a light that he's back, but this Bengals team is sitting at 3-6, and they've got to get things changed quickly, because the point you brought up about the Zach Taylor apologist, I still think this has a chance to get really bad. So that's where my concerns are with the Cincinnati Bengals. So
You're like speaking in like slow motion there at the end, right there.
yeah, I was trying to formulate something else. But
No, I got you. I'm just messing with you. But listen, I get it. I get why he's returning. I understand why he's returning. I mean, you're getting paid millions and $1 million to be the starting quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals, and you haven't been healthy, and now you are. So it's like a regular job. If you get injured, right, you're not expected to be out forever, right? The moment you're able to return to work, you've got to return to work, just like most Americans. Like, it's just the God's honest truth. It's what's expected of you. Now, I get it when you have a huge I get when you have like a huge investment in a guy, you want to make sure that you're not doing anything to re-aggravate the injury. But to be honest with you guys, football is a violent sport. It's a dangerous sport. You can't operate with kid gloves, right? If he's gotten the green light by doctors to practice, to be out there, to feel like he has no pain when, you know, he does practice, when he does run, when he does plant that foot. Well, I'm not a doctor. At the end of the day, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to tell him he's not doing what's in the best interest of him. At the end of the day, you make your money by being on the football field. This team's best chance to win is with you on the football field. Why? Because you're their emotional leader. You are their physical leader. You're the quarterback of this team, and Joe Flacco's done an admirable job. Hopefully, Joe Flacco has given this coaching staff, if they return, or given the organization, right, a chance to look at what a capable backup could do in the event that your quarterback goes down, because they've been spoiled, right? They've been spoiled with the play of Joe Burrow, and they thought that, hey, Jake Browning can come in and do exactly what he did 2 years ago, and proved he wasn't able to do that, right? Joe Flacco came in and kept the season afloat to a degree, although it hasn't necessarily translated into wins. He has gone out there and he's performed as best as you possibly can at the quarterback spot, as best as you possibly can. So now when I look at it, man, I agree with you. It does start with this Pittsburgh win. Everything else is secondary. The most important game for you is the game that's ahead on your schedule. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers game. I agree with that with Daniel, because if you are able to win that game, then you have a sense of belief, right? Of faith. Then you got the red hot steaming New England Patriots coming into town after that. You got to try to find a way to get that one out. If you can somehow find a way to rattle off 2 victories these next 2 games, whoa, now we're talking. Now we're talking. I'm not going to tell you what they can't do, because I've seen this team rattle off 10 straight victories before in the Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow era. I've seen it happen before. The problem is you don't have Joe Burrow out there. The also problem is Zach Taylor has proven that, he doesn't really know what to do with the defense. And that brings up our next topic. Will the Bengals defense get on track? Right? And that's what I want to talk about. Will the Bengals defense get back on track, or find a way to get on track? I don't know. I don't have the
Yeah.
answer to that. I really don't have the answer to that because so much of this defense it's non-consistent. And the one thing you need in the National Football League is a consistent defense, even a consistent offense you need. Those are the type of things that get coaches fired. And that's why I have such an issue with the Zach Taylor discourse. I'll keep saying it, guys. And maybe me being off of this mic for a week, I don't know, maybe change some tunes, but I want to make sure I'm extremely clear. If you're not a solution, you're a part of the problem, right? It is so impressive that Zach Taylor in this Bengals offense team is putting up 40 points and fielding such a great offense. I get that, guys, 100%. And it's tough for what's about to come out of my mouth then. But hopefully you can understand where I'm coming from. Your job, hear me out. Your job is to coach the Cincinnati Bengals as a whole. The Duke Tobin conversation, we'll get to that at the end of the season. But right now, what we're talking about, we're dealing with the here and now. It is your job to coach the Cincinnati Bengals as the head coach. That is your job. It is not as an offensive play caller, because guess what? Some people are made for that life. Some people will tell you, I can't be a head coach. I'm a better play caller, right? We all were saying that about Cliff Kingsbury at the beginning of the season, right? He's not a great head coach, but he's a good play caller. That's fine. But when your team is now potentially missing the playoffs for the third year in a row, you cannot throw your hands up and say, guys, remember, I'm an offensive-minded guy. No. When you took the job, right, as the head coach, it was an understanding that it's going to be your job to build a winning football culture. You think Matt LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan could tell those guys, well, I'm not a defensive guy. I'm an offensive guy. You think that can happen? You think if Andy Reid, right? If you think if Andy Reid started automatically, losing games with the Chiefs because of his defense, you don't think at some point organization, right, would talk to him and say, hey, we got to do something on defense, whether that's get rid of Spags or something. Well, you already got rid of your defensive coordinator. And this is the guy that you brought in. So you still have to answer for those. I gave that analysis before. Just because you, take a regular individual, you become a store manager, but you used to be the produce manager, but the store sales are down. You can't then look at corporate and say, well, the produce section sales are really high. The rest of the stores is doing bad. It's not my fault. What? It is your job to lead. And a lot about leading is delegation. What are we doing? Why are people now changing tunes? This is a very tough conversation to have. It's a very sensitive one to have too. There was a team by the name of the Philadelphia Eagles that had Andy Reid as their head coach for years. It wasn't working out, although they were fielding great offenses. Both guys parted ways. Andy Reid went to the Chiefs. They brought in two different coaches. They won a Super Bowl with one coach, now won a Super Bowl with the next coach. It worked out in the end for them. Andy Reid's going on to win multiple Super Bowls. It's worked out. Sometimes things are no longer fits, and that's okay. But this thought process that, well, he's fielding a offensive, putting up 40-plus points a game. Okay, let's talk about that. You don't invest. You invest in Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, right? Joe Burrow. Shouldn't you be doing this on your offense? You guys broke the mold. You guys said, hey, you know what? We're going to go out there. We're going to pay two of our top receivers. We're not going to listen to the rest of the league, which I think is smart, right? You did that, even though you didn't necessarily have to play on the offensive line, if you will, and it's starting to work itself out now. But you invested heavy into the offense. You went out there and brought in a guy like Noah Fant. You extended Mike Gesicki. So think about that. If that part of the ball was not working out, right? We'd have a big problem on our hands. There'd be a huge problem. There'd be a mutiny on our hands. But that side of the ball is doing exactly what it's supposed to do because you've invested most of the dollars in that side of the ball. You have not done that on the defense, and the defense is struggling. You can't wipe your hands and say, well, it's not my fault. That's not how the world works. That's not how the NFL works, contrary to belief. And you can say, I hate the guy, and none of that is true. I just call it like it is. You cannot be head of an entire operation and the operation failed, but one part is doing good, and it's the part that you happen to know really, really well, and everything's fine. That's not how it works. It's not how it works, okay? I want to make sure we're super clear on that. So it goes back to what I was saying. What this defense is able to do is directly tied to Zac Taylor and Al Golden moving forward. Because if you know you have a bad defense, you know what you should do more, guys? You know what you should do damn more? You should run the football. You should control the clock. But you can't do that. Why? Because you don't believe in running the football. You think it's acceptable to run the ball 6 times in the first half. You refuse to go under center. Why? Because Joe Burrow doesn't like it. So when you add a little bit of context, right? Because there's a reason why. There's a reason why, essentially people were I don't know, I lost my train of thought there. And that happened. But anyway, the point I'm trying to get at is when it comes to the Zac Taylor conversation, at the end of the day, his job is to be the head coach of the football team. If it's not producing results, meaning wins and losses, because that's how we should be judged, not based on what a position group should be doing, then we should be having an entirely different conversation. What happens next down the stretch is going to directly fall on the shoulders of Al Golden and Zac Taylor. Simple as that. Don't know which way else to slice it. We're going to find out a lot about this defense. And maybe I misspoke, by the way, on breaking the mold, right? Somebody said, the Eagles broke the mold first. Sure, the Eagles broke the mold and all that kind of stuff like that. Yeah, that's fine. But at the end of the day, what I mean is T. Higgins probably could be a number one somewhere else. Joe Burrow, obviously. I mean, not Joe Burrow. Ja'Marr Chase is the best receiver in the National Football League. So bringing both of those guys back and getting those guys under contract at the amount that they wanted was huge. It was something that a lot of people pushed back against. So it was pretty insane when they were able to make that happen, right? But I'll say this again. Ask yourself this. Do you think that any play caller or good play caller, right? Some of these guys that are being praised, that are going to be potential head coaching candidates, do you think they can get the same results out of a team led by Joe Burrow, Ja'Marr Chase, and T. Higgins? Because now I got my train of thought back. There's a reason why, for the first time in Joe Flacco's career, he broke. I think he had 400 yards passing. He had never had that before. There's a reason why he did that in Cincinnati, right? It's because they don't believe in running the football. They don't do it consistently. So, of course, you're going to put up big numbers. And guess what? I'm not going to blame you, because you got two absolute dogs out there on the outside in T. Higgins and Ja'Marr Chase. 100%, I agree with that. But if we want to get into the nuts and bolts of it, I could point to reasons. We can nitpick and we could talk about parts of the offense that aren't performing well, whether it be by belief or execution. And that's the running game, right? That's something that has not been complementary football. We talk a lot about the defense not playing complementary football. I don't think the offense is doing itself favors playing complementary football by also handing the ball off to running backs and letting them churn out yards, let them bleed the clock, especially when you know that you have a defense with so many holes in it on the other side. That's just my thought. So when we talk about praising and talk about putting up 40 points, well, I'm more interested in a play caller and somebody that could put up 40 points while also marrying the run and pass game together, while not having your defense on the football field so often if you know that that's a weakness, right? That's what I'm interested in. But we're not ready for that discussion yet. We'd rather just talk about how he's putting up 40-plus points. We'd rather talk about how Joe Flacco is cooking. I think it would take a really, really poor quarterback to not have success in this Bengals offense, with pass-happy offense, unless your name is Jake Browning. Mm-hmm. That's just how I feel. And that might be unpopular and stuff like that, but we can talk about the nuts and bolts. I understand football better than the next. And guess what? Being able to run the football is a fundamental part of the game. And that's something that the Bengals team does not believe in, or guess what? Has not executed. And that's something that when we talk about him as a play caller, we've also got to point out the flaws, right? Because it's not like the offense is absolutely flawless. It's not that at all. It's just a pass-happy offense with two dynamic receivers out there and the best receiver in the National Football League, and you're seeing the results that they paid for. Daniel, what say you before we head on?
Yeah. The harsh reality, I thought you summed up perfectly. I'll transition over to the NFL is a results-based business. And I'm sorry, my personal belief for right or for wrong, is if a head coach with the potential that this team had last season, because I feel like a lot of NFL teams would have moved off of Zach Taylor had last season happened under their watch. If that happens for 2 straight seasons and you don't make the playoffs for 3 straight seasons, I understand the defense was the majority of the problem, but you are the head football coach. Last year, your defensive coordinator, your offensive line coach, those were guys that fell on the sword. I hate to say it, life is not fair. If you do not make the playoffs in 3 straight seasons, I think you've got to be the guy that falls on the sword. And I think, Malik, you brought it up, whether it was Andy Reid with the Eagles, or whether it was, you can even go back to, oh my God, like we were just talking about it, Tony Dungy with the Buccaneers. That was a guy who had, 5 winning seasons, one of the best defenses in the league, and they canned him because you weren't doing the job. You had an elite defense, but not a great offense. So come in and bring somebody in that can do the job. And they went in with John Gruden and they won the Super Bowl after that. So just because your offense is performing at a high enough level, don't mistake it for somebody coming in and being able to do the same exact job that you are doing with this offense, because this offense will hum with or without Zach Taylor. That's my opinion. And Joe Burrow, Ja'Marr Chase, T. Higgins, whatever head coach comes in next, potentially, I think they can still perform with this offense. So it's figuring out your team. This team right now, with the film that they've put out, should not be 3-6 right now. They've been in too many close games, and that's the truth. So,
and last thing I'll say before we bring in fantasy football, Stephanie, appreciate you always being here on the show. She's Millie. Do you think Taylor will still get fired if they miss the playoffs this year? In the most Bengal way, I think that it depends how it looks. I think if they break at the end of the season, they lose multiple games, he will be gone. I think that if he's able to rattle off victories and have a winning record in the division, they'll find a way to bring that guy back. That's just what my gut tells me. Drastically different, right? But it seems like really clinging to this offense doing well, defense not doing well thing else. It's something that needs to obviously get handled on a larger scale. Will Duke Tobin be the guy that falls on the sword? It's so many intricacies that we got to get into. But listen, it's not Fantasy Football Fridays if we do not have O'Hara and Bradshaw join us on the Sit Down Morning Show. We're going to get these guys in, get these guys out, because we have UFC talk taking place later on the show as well. But without further ado, let's bring in Steve. Let's bring in Mike for Fantasy Football Fridays here at TWS. What's going on? What's going on, guys?
Morning, Malik. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Doing good. I'm going to ask you guys what I always typically ask you guys. How are you guys fantasy football teams doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I made a trade in one of my leagues. I traded Ted McMillan and Trevion Henderson. I knew he was going to, I sold him with the, value that he was going to explode against the Jets for Omari and Hampton. And then I got Breece Hall back. So interested to hear your guys' thoughts, but 6-4 record in the home league. Just made a trade. I'm feeling good. How about you, Mike?
Everything's going good. Ready for some best ball sweats here in the last couple weeks of the year, and then obviously the regular playoffs. So it's going to be a fun last month and a half or so.
Steve, did you say you traded away Trevion, or you got Trevion?
No, I traded him away, but I sold the dream of he's gonna explode against the Jets, because I don't really need to win this week. I'm in a good spot, but it still hurts to see him dominate nonetheless.
All right, I might have lost Steve on here, but guys, let's get into our starts and sits for week number 11. Mike, start us off with your best start of the week.
Yeah, I've got 2 running backs for us this week. One is a little bit more fun, the other one not as fun. I'll start with the not so fun guy. A lot of people do like him though. It's Aaron Jones. The results have been okay. He's cracked double-digit fantasy points in each of the last 2, but the thing that people don't seem to maybe understand is that he has been fully taking over this backfield, basically just completely icing Jordan Mason from this rotation. Last week, we saw Aaron Jones play 72% of the snaps, take 15 of the 20 backfield opportunities, which included 6 targets. He had all of the opportunities at the goal line. So that was like full-blown bell cow usage. You look at the numbers from week 9. It comes with the caveat that Jones left with a shoulder injury in the third quarter, but in the first half, it was once again just dominance. He played 77% of the snaps in the first half. Once again, just dominating the touches. And then this week, he gets the Chicago Bears, and I feel like every week I come onto this show and I have to rip the Bears in front of Steve's face, but that's just the reality of the situation. Bottom 10 in scoring defense, total defense. The rushing metrics hold up in the same light. So yeah, it's a really solid matchup for Jones, and he's quietly been taking over this backfield in the last couple of weeks. So I would certainly be firing him up as an RB2 this week.
All right, Steve, let's get to your start of the week, and then we'll get to one quick sit of the week, and then we'll go from there. But who's the guy that you are absolutely getting in your lineups and you feel like can maybe win somebody if their matchup?
If J.K. Dobbins does not play, get R.J. Harvey in your lineup. I was never a huge fan of him coming into the year because I knew how good J.K. Dobbins is. But if Harvey has the opportunity, let's not forget he was a second-round pick. I think a lot of people were a bit surprised by that and just kind of acting like it didn't happen. But this coaching staff clearly saw the potential in him. He's clearly talented, as we've seen in flashes so far this year. And the matchup, in terms of positional, it's not great with how many points the Chiefs defense has allowed to running backs. But I also think at the same time, this could be a very high scoring game. The Broncos are in flux this year. You don't really know what you're going to get with Bo Nix. But at the same time, I feel like it's kind of back and forth. He's coming off a rough game. I think this is where they say, all right, Bo, you need to lock in. You need to have a big game. And this could turn into a shootout, in my opinion, where R.J. Harvey would absolutely thrive.
Hopefully Harvey's the next of these rookie running backs to have a big week. So, Mike, give me a guy that you are absolutely sitting this week, somebody that you say, hey, this guy could ruin your matchup if you start him.
Yeah, so for me, it's DJ Moore. Again, I apologize, Steve, for coming after your Bears here. In like 10-team leagues, this guy might not be on the radar anymore as a starting option. But in like 12-team leagues or leagues where you're starting 3 receivers in a flex, he's definitely like kind of just, do I start this guy? Can I trust him? And especially he had a goose egg last week, but 2 weeks before he cracked 20 points. I believe it was 23 points on the nose. So some people might be teetering on the edge. I think at this point, it's just time to wave the white flag. It's just not really going to be happening on a consistent basis for DJ Moore. I mean, you just look at some of the metrics. He hasn't cracked a 20% target share in a single game this season. That is really, really horrific, especially kind of with the reputation that he holds. He's been just downright inefficient this year. He's averaging 1.5 yards per route run. And I think Steve can attest to this. You just watch the games. He's just not adding that much in terms of just within the flow of the offense. You see him like getting carries and end arounds and some of these design plays, but down to down, play to play, he's just not really making the impact that some of these other receivers are over the course of drives. So I do think it's just time to give up on DJ Moore. I would be looking to other options this week.
Completely. And this Bears offense is they're weird. They go to a bunch of different receivers. But Steve, let's get to your sit of the week, and then we'll get to 2 questions, and then we'll get you guys out of here.
For sure. No, I do agree with the Moore take. If you also watch him, just add from watching the games, he kind of just looks checked out at times throughout the year, and he's just clearly not the same receiver that he once was. But for my sit of the week, I think Tyrone Tracy is a guy that you really, you grabbed him off the waiver wire, thought, oh, this could be the potential league winner because he's the running back 1 for the Giants. But even with Jameis Winston coming into the mix, I think this offense is going to really struggle. The Packers have been awesome against running backs this year, 26 most points. So as long as they're not playing Rico Dowdle, they've been pretty good at locking down opposing running backs for fantasy. And it's just Tyrone Tracy is a fine player, but he's a guy that would thrive if he had opportunity on a good offense. And the Giants are just not that at this point. And it's not really their fault. I mean, you can't really do much when you lose Malik Neighbors and Cam Scatterby, your 2 best players. But Tyrone Tracy, even though you grabbed him off the waiver wire, you might be thinking, hey, I have to start this guy because I dumped my fab on him. Just don't do it. Just don't take the loss and just have him on your bench this week.
All right, we got 3 questions here. Mike, I'll go to you first. Question from Logan C. Darius Slayton with Jameis Winston or Brian Thomas Jr.?
It has to be Brian Thomas Jr. This is like a start your
You're not
studs
believing in
kind of thing.
Jameis?
I don't really care about Jameis Winston. This offense is probably still going to be a disaster. I mean, when your 3 wide receivers, like they're calling up Lil Jordan or Isaiah Hodgins, like they're claiming Isaiah Hodgins off the Steelers practice squad. When your 3 wide receiver sets look like what this is, it's Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, and then Hodgins, Lil Jordan Humphrey. It's a disaster, and they don't have a running back who can churn out yards without 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗡. I don't want any piece of an offense that I think is liable to score less than 13 points in any given week, especially when I know it's been a horrible year for BTJ, but we know what kind of talent he is. He's a proven commodity. I know that Darius Slayton made some nice catches, and he can also make plays downfield, but this is a start your studs kind of thing.
So we had a question from P. Kreischer. Jordan Addison or 𝗦𝗘𝗥𝗕𝗦𝗢𝗥? He said he feels like he's in this predicament every week. Steve, who would you start?
It's tough, but I think I would still have to go Addison. I do like Addison, but I think he is a good option when you can start him at tight end, where a lot of these guys are volatile, and Addison with the offense, given their offensive line struggles, given how many other weapons are on this offense, and Quentin Johnston looking pretty good in the past few weeks is what breaks the tie for me. Jordan Addison has looked really good so far this year. So it's close, but I mean, just when you're comparing a tight end to a wide receiver, regardless of who the players are, you typically give the edge to the wide receiver. So when it's close, I would slightly lean Jordan Addison.
And last question from Liam Walters. We have to go to a residential Rashee Rice fan. He said, thoughts on Rashee Rice against the Broncos? What do you think, Mike?
I mean, it's obviously you got to fire him up. It's a must start every single week. I think Pat Surtain came back to practice in a limited capacity, but until further notice, I would be operating under the assumption that he is not playing. The Denver Broncos defense is always stout with that front 7 and pass rush, but we know what Rashee Rice does. I mean, he's going to get targets at the line of scrimmage that come out of Patrick Mahomes' hands within a second of the ball being snapped. He's a monster after the catch. I mean, personally, I would be shocked if he doesn't score 20 fantasy points this week. So it's an every week starter. He's a top 10 fantasy asset for the rest of the season.
So if you guys have any other questions, once again, do us a favor. You guys can follow these guys on their X down below. Make sure you guys shoot them a follow. And we will be back here with Fantasy Football Fridays next Friday. So Mike, Steve, we appreciate you guys. And once again, if you guys want to give them a follow, drop it down below. Thanks for joining the show, boys.
See you, Daniel. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
We'll catch you.
Thanks to Mike and Steve for joining us again on the Sit Down Morning Show. Listen, we have a huge UFC matchup taking place this week. UFC 322. Islam Makhachev is stepping up to the welterweight division, taking on JDM Jack Della Maddalena for the welterweight championship. And I get my guy in here, my arch nemesis when it comes to our back-to-back picks. 𝗦𝗢𝗢𝗪 in here. Blame him for the quick start today for UFC talk. I'm kidding. But Ev, what's going on, man?
How you doing, Malik?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Listen, UFC 322 is probably one of the more exciting cards. It's definitely a technical card that we're looking at. Listen, I want to jump right off, right? I want to jump right into it. JDM versus Islam Makhachev. Who you got? Why?
Man, I love this fight. First of all, I mean, this is probably my favorite fight of the year so far, just based off of talent and storylines alone. I mean, you got Islam, who you could say is probably the highest up the GOAT list out of active fighters, challenging for his second title. You could make the argument. I'm not saying there's a couple guys in there. Sure.
Yeah.
And then you got JDM, who, I was never somebody who was super high on JDM coming up the ladder. I can admit that I was wrong on him. I really thought Bilal was going to handle him. But he did not, and he showed out. And now he's got Islam Makhachev. This fight, I think the odds are a little too wide on, to be honest. Islam's coming in at almost a 3-1 favorite. I don't know how you can say that, seeing what you saw out of JDM in the last fight. He looked great. His takedown defense looked solid. And Islam's moving up a weight class. But with that said, I think I'm going to go slight lean towards Islam Makhachev in this fight.
I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. Because now we're going to disagree. JDM's going to win this fight. Let me tell you why JDM's going to win this fight. Islam Makhachev has a clear-cut key to victory, guys. I did a great breakdown on Twitter. I just posted it to my Instagram as well. Listen, Islam is a chain wrestler. Islam is a guy that doesn't like to shoot in open space. When he shoots in open space, he fails. He doesn't do well, just as Dustin Poirier or any other opponent he's had. His key to victory is to get his opponent to back up behind the black line. Once he gets his opponent to back up behind the black line, he can then go from single leg to double leg to body lock to trip downs, and he can work his takedown. The problem here is you're facing a bigger JDM. You're facing a guy that's going to, let's just face it, he's not going to give you an inch in there. He's going to be looking to walk Islam down. And I'm afraid that when Islam finally does get his takedown, it might be too late in the round to do exactly what I think Islam needs to do in order to secure the round or to secure a victory, and that's threaten a submission or land damaging ground and pound. Listen, JDM has great combos, right? He goes for the body to the head, and I just think that he's going to be too bigger. Too much of a big presence in the air taking on Islam Makhachev. I think both of these guys got great tune-ups personally for this fight, right? JDM took on a watered down Islam Makhachev and Belal Muhammad, and Islam Makhachev took on a watered down version of JDM and Dustin Poirier. Also a version of Dustin Poirier, I would say, that actually throws leg kicks, that actually threatens stuff. And let's not act like outside of maybe Charles Oliveira and 𝗦𝗡𝗢𝗦𝗡, Islam really didn't dominate anybody during this championship run. I don't rate the Alexander Volkanovski second victory, because Alex came in on short notice and got head kicked after drinking beers on a beach. Like, to me, it's the dude didn't dominate anybody. The guys that I actually wanted to see him fight at lightweight, he didn't fight. Right? He didn't fight the 𝗕𝗡𝗅𝗓. I know he tried to fight the 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏. He didn't fight the Paddy Pimblett. He didn't fight the Ilia El Matador, or La Liga, I should say. Or I think that's his name, Legend or something like that. Damn, I might have said the wrong word. My bad.
No, you're right.
Or he didn't fight Ilia Topuria. He didn't fight these guys, but he went up to welterweight, all because he saw an opportunity to take on JDM. And I think this is a bad mistake for Islam. I think Islam, I don't know if you saw them on the scales, JDM looks much bigger than Islam. Now, obviously, rehydration, guys look different after they rehydrate and all that good stuff like that. I just feel like JDM is the natural bigger guy. I think JDM is going to be a guy that's going to be able to stuff the takedowns. I think JDM is going to put pressure on Islam. And let's not act like Dustin Poirier didn't cut Islam's head open. Let's not act like Dustin Poirier didn't have Islam fleeting on the back foot. Let's not act like Dustin Poirier, after Islam got the first takedown stuff, or Islam didn't shoot another takedown for three minutes, right? And it was at the end of the round. To me, I hate to simplify it, because this fight does have a lot of intricacies. There are keys that Islam can win this fight, right? Islam can win this fight if JDM becomes the nail and he's the hammer and he backs him up behind that black line. He's able to get his chain wrestling involved, and he's able to just completely stall out JDM's offense. But also, don't sleep on Islam's striking. Islam has a nice 1-2, and Islam has a nice head kick as well. That all being said, JDM is crisp. He's hip to what he's trying to do. I think that the key for Islam is he's going to have to be willing to get into the fire, exchange a little bit, because that's the only way he's going to get a guy like JDM, who has a high and tight guard, to open up. If he's not able to do that, then, well, at the end of the day, I think that JDM is going to win this fight. I think that Islam is going to need him to open up in order to win this. But Daniel, what are your thoughts?
I don't know where I'm leaning, man. JDM, I agree. This line is too wide. I think that JDM being
I love it. Thank you, by the way, for this line being wide.
Being a plus 200 or 220. I think if you're taking JDM, I think it's knockout or decision. I think he could win a decision, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But knockout is plus 440. Decision is plus 600. If you want my honest take, I think Islam submits him.
Okay.
I think Islam submits him, and that's probably what I'm betting from a betting perspective. I'm probably betting JDM KO Islam sub because I think that's probably the pathway it goes.
So no.
Yeah.
I'm not letting you off the hook
I'm
that
not.
way.
No,
You're taking Islam to win this fight.
I'm
by
taking
submission.
Islam.
Okay.
I think it's gonna make it more fun.
I think JDM knocks him out. I think JDM TKOs Islam.
I can see that. The reason why I'll make my analysis quick for this, I think that Islam is maybe not as great of a fighter as everybody thinks he is, but the fact of the matter is this guy has submitted 6 of his past 9 opponents. And Malik, I agree with you. The fights like Alexander Volkanovski, maybe we may not be able to rate them as highly, but for me, I look at the other side as well. And maybe this is just my personal bias because I'm with Evan. I was never fully on the JDM train. I mean, you can agree to this. Kevin Holland, JDM, we sat up here in the same exact thing. I thought Kevin Holland would beat him. I didn't think JDM would be here. And I'm going to go back and look at those fights. And I think the Gilbert Burns fight, he showed the ability to hold him down. The Basil Hafez fight, he showed the ability to hold him down. I think Islam is the best submission threat that JDM has ever faced. And while I like JDM's scrambling ability, I'm going to bet on Islam's ability on the ground. I'm going to bet on Islam's ability to finish this fight. And when we look at the past history of these guys who have, come up in weight, it's either they lose a close decision, I would say, or they end up finishing the guy. I mean, Alex Pereira went up, finished Jiri. You look at Conor McGregor went up, finish his fight. You look at Ilia Topuria went up and finish his fight. I think the pathway to victory is a submission for Islam, and I think he is going to do that. I think Islam submits him in round 3. This is a fun fight, but if I have to go with my gut, I'm taking Islam by submission. I think he gets the double champ status, to be honest with you. I had to make it fun. I have to go. I think it always works better when you're the lone wolf, to be honest, and I'm excited for this because it gives me something to root for. Trust me, I want to go with JDM, but this also builds up the hype a little bit.
Again, lone wolf, man. We're ready for this. We're ready for this. Listen, I am no stranger to people picking against me. I will tell you though, it has not worked out in these guys' favor since this has happened. Whatever Daniel and Evan agree, and I'm by myself, they have not won one time. That being said, we're in for a big fight. Let's talk about the co-main event. Weili Zhang taking on Valentina Shevchenko. Evan, give me your thoughts.
Yeah, this is another fight that's just awesome. I mean, this should be this should be a pay-per-view main event because this is two of probably the top, I'm going to say top 3, but you could say top 5 women's fighters of all time going at it. And I'm going to take the slight underdog. I'm going to take Zhang Weili in her move up to flyweight and claim double champ status here. Zhang Weili, although she's moving up a weight class and she's not going to be the naturally bigger woman in this fight, she is incredibly strong. She's always been incredibly strong for straw weight. I think she's going to be able to match the strength of Shevchenko in this. And one thing that she has that the last 2 fighters that Shevchenko has taken on didn't have is a more varied offense. She fought Manon Fior, who's almost an exclusive striker, and that's why Shevchenko was able to focus on evading the strikes and working her ground game. Although Shevchenko also held her own on the feet there, and then Grasso was also doing the same thing. So Zhang Weili is going to be able to mix it up with Shevchenko. And I do think Shevchenko is on a bit of a slide. I don't think she's in her prime anymore. And I just think this is Weili's time to be double champ and cement herself in that top 3 of all time.
Oh, man. I'm going to disagree with you here. I think Valentina Shevchenko wins this. I just think that we can't act, and I know I know you're not necessarily, but we can't act as if Weili Zhang doesn't have blemishes on her record. We've seen this girl get absolutely starched by Rose Namajunas. And for me, looking at this fight, man, I look at it and I say, every single time we think an opponent has an advantage over Valentina Shevchenko, even if she loses, like an Alexa Grasso, she comes back and she dominates. She comes out and she uses their best against them. And I just can't stop envisioning this happening the same way because we could pick Weili Zhang, right? You could pick Weili Zhang to win this fight. But I have a question. Where is she better than Valentina Shevchenko at? What's going to be her calling card with her coming up in weight, think about all the fighters Valentina has faced. Where is she going to 100% have the advantage over Valentina Shevchenko? For me, Evan, I can't answer that. I don't know what it is. Outside of she's supposedly going to be stronger than her. I don't know if I believe that. I don't know. I think that Valentina is the most technical mixed martial artist that Weili Zhang has ever fought. The most technical. And I think that while Weili Zhang might be the strongest she's fought in recently, I don't think she's the best that she's fought personally. I think she's fought in girls that are similar to Weili Zhang. I think Weili Zhang did a great job dominating at her weight class, but I think coming up in weight against a Valentina, it's a different animal. It's a little bit of a different animal. And to be quite honest with you, since we were bringing up previous fights, obviously she dominated Alexa Grasso. She did look good in the first fight until she didn't. And then she went out there and she absolutely blanked Manon Fiorot, right? But I didn't think Weili Zhang looked good in her title defense against I don't want to butcher the girl's name.
Yao
Zhanan. I didn't think she looked good in that fight. I thought Yao Zhanan was dominating Weili Zhang. And so, like, for me, I get her coming up in weight, but I also feel like if you weren't always able to dominate the opponents that were in front of you, it's hard to then go up and take on and beat the lady that I think is the consensus greatest women's mixed martial artist of all time in Valentina Shevchenko. I just think Valentina Shevchenko is going to be way too smart in there. She's going to be way too ahead of Weili Zhang. And I think that Weili Zhang might try to lean in for shots and swing big hooks and then try to get her takedown going. But I just think Valentina is going to always have an answer for her. So for that, give me Valentina, the bullet Shevchenko, to retain her championship. Danny, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll make this quick. I think that it's probably going to go the distance. These two are phenomenal. I think we could see, a knockout on like the Valentina side, sure. But I think these two are two of the best, and rightfully so. We're seeing a matchup. I think Valentina can win a decision. And that's probably where I would lean. I think I could see a world where Weili tries to get a wrestling involved and it just doesn't work out. And Valentina isn't necessarily a power puncher, so I can see her winning on points, and that's probably where my bet would lie. I think Valentina wins by decision.
I will tell you this. Whenever we pick an opponent or we think an opponent is going to, beat Valentina, be a tough, she always comes out game. It's always her best performance typically. I'll never forget her putting Jessica Andrade in a crucifix and just elbowing her lights out until she finished her. I think Valentina could make a statement. I personally think Valentina could win by TKO or submission. Like Weili Zhang almost got submitted against Yao Zhanan. She almost got submitted in that fight. I get it. Almost doesn't count. I get that. However, I do think that the finishing upside, the finishing ability is on Valentina Shevchenko's side, 100%. And I think that you got to wonder how Weili's going to carry the extra weight, like going into the later rounds. Man, I could see a finish, man. I could see it's not too often I pick a finish in women's fights, but man, I think that Valentina could finish her. Matter of fact, I think that's the side that you probably should put a little bit of coin on. I think you should put a little bit on the Valentina Shevchenko finish because I think Valentina is determined to make a statement. I think that this is a big statement she can make to a lot of these girls that, hey, you might try to move up in weight. You might think you could beat me, stuff like that. But look what I just did to Weili Zhang. Look what I've done. Look at her last recent victories. Manon Fiorot, potentially Weili Zhang. Listen, I think Valentina is going to look to make a statement, and I think she's going to. All right, let's keep it going. Sean Brady taking on Michael Morales. Evan, what say you?
Man, I love this fight. I give so much credit to Sean Brady for taking this fight just because I don't think he had to. He just came off a win over Leon Edwards that was immensely dominant. I mean, he made Leon Edwards look worse than anybody's ever made Leon Edwards look. And Michael Morales he's a killer. I mean, he's 18-0. He's mowing people down one by one right now. I think the odds are fair in this one, and I think that's kind of they make up my thoughts here. I give the slight lean to Sean Brady solely because I just haven't seen enough on the ground with Michael Morales at this point for me to go against Sean Brady, who's coming off of such a dominant performance.
I think Michael Morales has the ability to absolutely start Sean Brady. If Bilal Muhammad was able to TKO Sean Brady on the feet, I fear for what Mike Morales is going to do to Sean Brady in this fight. But I'll give the rest of my analysis on the Patreon. Daniel, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll probably go Michael Morales in this. And I agree with you, Evan, on Sean Brady's a phenomenal wrestler, and that's probably his pathway to victory. I just think that his last fight, his pathway that he put out versus, Leon Edwards, I don't think Leon showed a lot of resistance. And I think that, in my opinion, that showed a lot about Brady, but also showed a lot about the Leon Edwards we saw. I think the side is Sean Brady decision or Michael Morales finish. And if I have to pick one, I think Michael Morales finishes them 18-0. I think he's on the fast track to a title shot. And we saw what he did to Gilbert Burns. And Sean Brady is far better right now than Gilbert Burns, but that is the pathway. And I do think that there is a real shot that Morales comes in, makes a statement, and potentially earns himself one of the next title shots.
Okay, I respect it. Let's talk about Carlos Prates taking on Leon Edwards. Evan, give me your thoughts on that.
I think Leon Edwards is going to get done bad in this fight. I really do. I think Carlos Prates is just, I think he's on the up right now. There's just so much momentum behind him. And I know he lost to Ian Gary, and the scorecards, made it out like it was a dominant fight, which it was for Ian Gary for the majority. But I even think he gained momentum on the back end of that fight. He had that 5th round where he almost finished Ian Gary. He made it through a full 5-round fight with someone who I think is one of the highest level welterweights on the planet. And Leon Edwards has no momentum right now. He's coming off a crushing defeat. Prates is riding high right now. I think he gets this done by 2nd round knockout.
2nd round knockout. This was one, like, I don't know. I don't know. And I was on the Prates side this entire time. I do think that there's a world where Leon could win this fight. And I think, Evan, exactly what you said. There is no momentum on the Leon Edwards side. It makes all the sense to pick Prates, and Prates is a killer. The only concern I have is, can Leon employ a similar game plan as Ian Gary? I think he can. And I think it hurts Prates that this is a 3-round fight, because I do think that there is a chance how Leon Edwards could win this by decision. That's probably, looking at the odds, that's probably where I lean, is Leon Edwards at plus money winning this fight by decision. But I do see that there is a pathway to Prates winning by knockout. And this is the best striker that Leon Edwards has ever fought. So I'd probably lean Leon Edwards to win this by decision, but there's a chance Prates does do him bad. So,
man, I think Prates is going to be on the Patreon for all my picks for that fight. It's going to be a great card. Listen, Evan, I know you got to get out of here, my man. I want to thank you so much for tuning in, man. Listen, I'm sure we'll be texting throughout the weekend for the fight card. And man, best of luck to all your picks except for the ones you went up against me on. And outside of that, my man, hope you have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Take care, brother. Again, if you want all of our picks, subscribe to the TWSN Patreon for all of our plays. Listen, that's all the time that we got for the morning show. We want to thank you guys so much for tuning in for another episode. You guys can do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys never miss when we go live. Remember, we're live Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time for the Sit Down Morning Show. And State of the Jungle is live Wednesdays at 7 p.m. We had a break this past week, but we are back for the rest of the season, and we're excited for it. But listen, do us a favor, give this video a like, subscribe channel. We appreciate y'all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.
This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well, you better know now, because